Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha Harley. Welcome to our Essential Wellness Empowered Health educational series. We bring you monthly essential oil education with very special guests. And today we have somebody who is very near and dear to my heart. When I think about introducing her, all I can think of, she's so many amazing things. But what really comes to my mind is this lady is just pure and absolute love. And on top of that, she is a magical, mystical, amazing unicorn. And you're going to learn more about that in the presentation. But she's also an artist and a wellness advocate. And she's just so much more. She's really enriched my life from knowing her. And I simply adore her. She lives in Vancouver with her lovely wife and her menagerie of many animals, dogs and cats and chickens and turkeys and squirrels. They also have a pottery studio and make amazing, fun pottery that many of you may have the privilege of owning some. So she is a gem. She has a very powerful story that she is going to share with all of you. And so without further ado, I know we can't hear you all clapping, but please join me in giving her a very warm welcome as she shares a vulnerable and powerful and also very educational story that hopefully will be super supportive for all of you. So Kelly, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. That's so wonderful. I am super grateful to be here with everyone today. And I know I can't see all of your faces, but I am totally feeling the energy. So thank you for joining us. So the first thing I always talk about with cancer is it is a very complex system. So there is no one answer. There is no one solution at this point in time. So people who maybe haven't been immersed into the world of cancer or cancer treatment, it's really important for me to educate people to know that no two people respond exactly the same way to treatment. No two tumors, a tumor is not a tumor is not a tumor. They respond differently. The cell formations are different. Sometimes somebody will have some tumors that respond to treatment, but they'll have one that doesn't. There's so much that I've learned in that respect, in terms of what cancer is and in being immersed into the world of cancer treatment, really how big the scope of this is. So my point today with this presentation is to talk about supporting the whole body during treatment or when facing cancer, depending on how you choose to approach your cancer. And whether you do Western medicine treatment or you choose to do only holistic treatment, this actually works within all of that. So we're really talking about whole body support today. All right, so here we go. So integrative care for the mind, body, and soul. So we're going to dig into a little bit of each of these. And I'm going to start with a little bit about me. Now, I was diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of endometrial cancer in 2014. I actually was diagnosed with two forms of endometrial cancer. One was standard and one was rare, which, you know, again, you don't know until you get into it. What does that mean? We did chemo, but unfortunately it had already gotten into my bloodstream and the chemotherapy did not work. So by the time it returned in 2017, it had spread through the bloodstream into my low back and into the area between my lungs and where my lymph nodes are. So we went back into treatment, aggressively hit it with 3 different types of chemotherapy, radiation, all of those things. And then I eventually did get a scan last summer that was clear with no evidence of disease. So over the past 4 years, I've endured 3 surgeries as well as 2 rounds of chemotherapy and radiation. I have successfully incorporated integrative care with traditional Western medicine over the past 3+ years with the guidance of a variety of wellness providers and professionals. So any information I share with you is what I have gathered from other people in the fields of either Western medicine, holistic medicine, Chinese medicine, the entire gamut. the people I've worked with, and then I myself became the guinea pig of incorporating things. And so I'm sharing what worked for me and my story. And again, it may not work exactly for every person the same, but this is my experience. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I'm not the person who can tell you exactly why cells replicate the way they do or what causes cancer. There's a whole you can get lost in that as well. There's so many theories and so much research out there. But I'm going to just present to you what my experience has been. As you can tell by this photo, me in the unicorn onesie, I love humor. I use humor through my treatment. It's a key part of me staying sane and me facing all of the things that come along with cancer. And then gratitude is the other part of that helps keep me sane, is that every day I look for something to be grateful for. And I think that's a really important thing that we all need to be doing, no matter what's going on in our lives. So let's do a quick little Cancer 101. So Western medicine and cancer. Cancer is the uncontrolled growth of abnormal cells anywhere in a body. These abnormal cells are termed cancer cells, malignant cells, or tumors. When damaged or unrepaired cells do not die and become cancer cells and show uncontrolled division and growth, a mass of cancer cells develop. Cancer cells leaving an area and growing in another body area is termed metastatic spread or metastasis, which is what has happened with me. I'm considered to have metastatic cancer because it's relocated other places in the body. Treatment protocols vary according to the type and stage of the cancer. Typical treatment includes one or all of the following in Western medicine: surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. Now, the other type of treatment that's coming up quickly, and it's really getting out there, and I know it's a buzzword, is immunotherapy. I have two different friends who are currently in immunotherapy and are having varying results with it. Again, it is not a one-size-fits-all answer, but it's also, we're in the situation where research funding goes to certain primary cancers that are more common first, and then it trickles down over the years. So there's been enough funding and research over probably the last 12 years with immunotherapy that they now have gotten some FDA approval for colon cancer, blood cancer, brain cancer, breast cancer. There's certain ones that they've been doing it long enough that they've got enough information and they can see where the results lie that the FDA says, okay, we will approve this treatment. Other cancers like mine haven't even begun to do the research, or if they have, it's really minimal across the United States because, again, I have a more rare version of an endometrial cancer. So that's where we're at with immunotherapy and advancements there. There are more genetic therapies that are currently being worked on, and I think my personal opinion and from what I've learned, that is the future of cancer treatment, and that is where we will eventually find that one identifiable genetic marker that causes cancer growth. So in my book, I don't know that I will see it in my lifetime because I'm 51, but I am really excited when I hear about that or I talk to doctors that are working in that field. Okay, so first of all, when we get into talking Western medicine, side effects. Everybody thinks of chemo, they go, ugh, okay, you're gonna go bald, you're gonna have all these issues. Now they vary again because not every chemo is the same. Every cancer will have a different protocol. Some have the same. So the drugs that I was on are not the same drugs that you would receive if you had lung cancer because the type of tumor cells don't respond to the same drugs. So the typical ones: nausea, diarrhea, headaches, vomiting, hair loss, neurological issues that can be nerve damage from drugs that are given during chemotherapy. And it also can be neuropathy, which is when you get pins and needles in your fingers or your feet. And that actually is an issue that it usually will reverse, but sometimes it is a lasting side effect. Chills or fever, sleeplessness, emotional swings, fatigue, and more depending on the treatment involved. It's also important to note that with radiation treatment, you will also get some of these side effects depending on what type of radiation you're getting. It doesn't necessarily have to be them giving you an IV drug to cause side effects. Radiation typically fatigue is definitely the number one because you're hitting your body with radiation. But again, that will vary with people. So what is integrative care? What does that mean? So when I'm talking about integrative care, we are talking about adding supplements to your diet, using essential oils, bringing in acupuncture or Chinese medicine, although with Chinese medicine and herbs, you have to be careful because there are certain herbs that will actually interfere with chemotherapy. And fortunately, I found an acupuncturist who was very aware of that. And so we had a really great working relationship, and she knew what to use and what not to use. Massage is wonderful for working with your lymph system. And those of you out there who are in the field or know about massage, you're very aware of what that does for you. Again, you have to be careful because when you're dealing with cancer patients, they may not be able to lay on the table. They may not be able to take a lot of pressure. It may just be anything that you can do to kind of help work the system and get things moving in the body. Reiki work, chiropractic, again, the same. A person may not be able to take a full chiropractic adjustment or laying on a table, and they may have to go with a much less intensive treatment, but you still can manipulate areas in the spine and the body without causing damage. Hypnotherapy, I actually hadn't even thought about that until a friend whose husband is a hypnotherapist offered me treatment. And I have to say that I had amazing benefits from that. I just would feel lighter and much more positive. It was just really energizing for me after I'd have a session. Therapy or support groups, depending on if you want to be around people who also are having the same issue as you and talk it out, or therapy if you just really want to have that secure private place where you can go in and be angry or process your emotions. Those are really valuable tools because there's a lot of emotional stuff that comes up with cancer. Dietary changes, I'm definitely going to talk about that more in detail in a minute. Detoxing, again, that is something we can do with oils. I will go more into that a little bit later as well, but it's really important because we're constantly putting toxic load on our body and our organs. So if we can find ways to detox as we're going through a treatment, it's really, really valuable. So lastly, I put emotional work and supports because so many things, again, come up during anything having to do with cancer. If it's you who has cancer, somebody that you love who has cancer, it's a pretty intense emotional experience. So I will be talking more about that in detail. Okay, so the 4 key things I'm going to get into out of that list, talking a little bit more in detail. So doTERRA with physical and emotional support. Acupuncture for neurological and digestive issues. That was my key. Dietary changes, again, there's varying diets that I'm going to go into. So we talk about eliminating sugar and processed foods. I think no matter what you choose to do with your diet, that's really an important first step that you need to take. And it's not a popular one. People don't like hearing that they need to eliminate sugar, and it's difficult, but it really is a valuable thing that we need to do. And then emotional and mental state, essential oils, hypnotherapy, community and family support, those things all really contribute to kind of staying in a healthy state of mind. So let's hit up doTERRA first here. So doTERRA, I actually learned about doTERRA my first time through treatment, and a friend gave me a bottle of frankincense and I used it, and I kept saying, wow, I don't really feel as bad as I see other people feeling, and my skin actually looks better than I thought that it would. And people would comment on things like that. And so then later I went back and I researched, what does frankincense do? So for all of us on here who are doTERRA people, we now know what frankincense does and why that would make sense, that I would feel more nourished as a person and have better skin and have a little bit better results. So once I was done with that and I finished my first time through chemo, I wanted to know more. Like, what else should I be doing? So for me, this is a list of things that I then went on to incorporate my second time through once I learned more about doTERRA. So DDR Prime soft gels, and I also use the oil. I'll talk about that in a minute. Lifelong Vitality Pack, frankincense, On Guard Plus soft gels, Zendocrine, lemongrass, lemon / whatever your favorite citrus oils are, Balance, Serenity, Forgive. And then I also use custom emotional support blends that help me. All right, so let's dig into DDR prime. So now I think most of us know DDR prime is amazing. I can't even really put it into words, what it does for us. But it tends to be one that kind of gets put on the back burner. People don't really know what it is or why they need it. And so we tend to just kind of steer away from it unless we really know what it does for us. So healthy cellular regeneration. When we talk about DDR prime, cell growth, replication, and cell death provide information for the function of our body systems. So as we age, cellular function degrades and is accelerated by all of our daily things we talk about: stress, poor nutrition, lack of sleep, the toxic load that we have just from environmental toxins, toxins in our food, BPAs, all of these things that we know about and we hear about, that all builds up on us, and it really helps accelerate the lack of healthy cellular function becomes impacted that much faster. I'm going to put it that way. So it affects our normal processes in the body. And so it happens, obviously, as we age. It happens depending on environmental stressors and all these other things we talked about. But when you're looking at cancer, we're talking about cells, unhealthy cells, like when we talked about the slide where what is cancer. When we're looking at how cells function, what healthy cells are, what abnormal cells are, we really have to look at supporting cellular health. So DDR prime is that key. And it's great. When we talk about DNA repair, it supports healthy cellular response and repair. So instead of necessarily cells continuing on down this path that they're going on, it will get in and help support the cells so that they don't go down the path of being unhealthy or abnormal. So this blend contains frankincense and lemongrass, which are two oils that both were on my list. And I actually use them in addition to DDR prime when I can. And I use frankincense as part of the pain protocol with copaiba the inflammation blend with copaiba and Siberian fir. So I get it under my tongue. I also get it in my DDR prime. And then I also get it in my lifelong vitality pack. So I do use the soft gels for DDR prime, and I do use the oil. The key that I have learned is that the DDR prime soft gels are really important, and it's not the same as using the oil, because when you take the soft gels, each one has 8 drops of DDR prime in it, and the coating on it is actually designed to make it through your stomach and then disperse once it gets into your intestines. So the key to that is that the stomach digests, but the intestine absorbs. So we want to get that full dose into the intestine, just like when we talk about probiotics. So it's a really amazing thing that I actually just learned that. And so it's something that I hope more people find out about. So for me, with being in treatment or dealing with cancer, my protocol is 2 soft gels every morning and 2 every night. And then I use the DDR prime oil as well, and I put it in a roller bottle with fractionated coconut oil, and I apply it directly over where my cancer is. So I will put it directly over the tumor that's right in my chest. So it's kind of a double whammy, getting it directly on top and then getting it dispersed right into the intestine. So I'll also add that DDR prime is a powerhouse for when we talk about emotional healing. It's got a lot of really great stuff going on in there. Now, the Lifelong Vitality Pack, we all hear all the time about how great it is. It is. It's this amazing whole food nutrition. It supports whole body function. It's anti-inflammatory. It gives us what we don't get in our food supply. And when you look at someone who is dealing with cancer and chemo especially, it's hard enough on a daily basis to get the nutrition we need. But when you're in chemotherapy, half the time you don't want to eat. You don't want to eat. You don't feel like eating. You feel fatigued. Sometimes you're vomit. Like some people, it's vomiting. For me, it was nausea, diarrhea. It's just really hard, and it will actually alter your taste for some people. It will cause you to have a metallic taste in your mouth for some people, or you'll get sores in your mouth. For me, things just didn't taste the same. So like I'm somebody who loves green salads with lots of good stuff on them. I would sit with that on the table in front of me for probably 3 hours, and I would try to take a bite, and I just couldn't do it. I got where I couldn't eat raw vegetables, and I couldn't eat avocado, things like that are really good nutritional things we want in our body. So this is why Lifelong Vitality Pack, even if it's somebody who, if they are dealing with vomiting, get it into some kind of a smoothie. Get it in a blender with like a little bit of plain yogurt, maybe some unsweetened coconut milk, and maybe some berries, something like that, and open those and blend it up, because that is where you're going to be supporting your body from a nutritional standpoint when you're at your absolute lowest point, because you are poisoning your entire body. I mean, chemotherapy doesn't care, and it does not just affect the cancer. It affects healthy cells as well. And so when you're poisoning yourself, I mean, let's be honest, we're poisoning ourselves to try to kill the cancer. We have got to also give our body a fighting chance. So for me, this is a key. So I always say, if nothing else, DDR Prime and the Lifelong Vitality Pack together. Like, those are things that I'm hoping you can see why those would be so important at this point. So when we talk about immune support, now when you're in chemotherapy, one of the biggest things that happens is your immune system will crash. And it all depends on the drugs that you're on. But for me, this last time through chemotherapy, I was getting a much higher dose of drugs, and I had no immune system, and it hit me hard. And I'm somebody who had been using doTERRA and hadn't been sick in a long time. And then all of a sudden I found myself horribly sick with a cold. I was just getting over the surgery to replace my port, which is something they put in so that they don't have to keep giving you IVs. I was just at the lowest of the low. And at that point, I embraced the On Guard Plus. And so On Guard Plus became my best friend, excuse me. And in treatment, I started taking 2 every morning and 2 every evening. Now, on a regular basis, you should not take it that much, because you are looking at, it's a powerhouse, because it has obviously the On Guard oil, but you're adding in things like black pepper, melissa, and oregano. So on a daily basis, you don't want to be taking it. If you're in a situation where your immune system has hit the floor, that was my key to not getting sick again during treatment. So for me, it was a lifesaver, because it's this thing where people are constantly sick. They can't boost their immune systems. Your white blood cells will they will go up and then they'll drop. And you're in this constant cycle of trying to keep your immune system going while you're attacking your body with treatment. So I fully support diffusing the On Guard oil. I think that's amazing. Diffuse it, use it on the bottom of your feet if you want to before you go into treatment, or even at night before you go to bed. But having the On Guard Plus as our kind of saving grace with the immune system, that really is an amazing, amazing product. So let's talk about detoxing for a minute. So detoxing, again, I mentioned we're putting this massive toxic load on our body and our organs. So in addition to our daily toxic load that we have. So the key for me with this was, how can I keep moving this through my body, and how can I keep getting things out instead of letting them accumulate? Because as you do treatment, your body will actually start to build up. And that's like I noticed the first time through. I did really well until probably the last month. And then that's when my immune system crashed, and it just, everything had built up in my body. So this time through, I did gradual detoxing throughout the entire treatment. So Zendocrine is an amazing product. Those of you that aren't using it or you aren't aware of it, I mean, we're looking at powerhouses like rosemary, cilantro, juniper berry, and tangerine. And then you add in other oils in that, like geranium and whatnot. It's wonderful, and it supports your organs, and it kind of takes some of that load off of them, because especially our liver, it's processing any drugs we put in our body. So we really want to work on healthy liver function. So when I use Zendocrine, for me, I do it in like 7 to 10 day periods. And so I will do a capsule with drops, or I will do the soft gel for, let's say, 7 to 10 days as a detox and then stop. And then I'll go back and do it. Now, on a daily basis, I like to put citrus oil in my water, which I know most of us do. And that also is helping our soft tissues that absorb a lot of these toxins and helps us kind of work that out of the system as well. So again, it's a really great thing to do for your body. Even if it's just adding a flavor that you like to your water, that's going to help. Even if you don't do this endocrine protocol. But this is why when I talk about these things, I'm like, it's a really great product to have on board, is endocrine. All right, so healthy sleep. I think we all know why healthy sleep is important, but it really affects our health. And especially when you're dealing with something, for me, I was having night sweats, you have discomfort, you have all these other things on top of already feeling stressed or emotionally overwhelmed and not being able to sleep, and then the drugs affecting you. So the Serenity Complex, the Restful Complex, that has been wonderful for me, and I use it every night. I also will use the Serenity Oil. For me, I will take the soft gels, and then I will use the oil and put it, on my wrists and on my chest. So I'm getting that constantly. I'm inhaling that as I fall asleep, and I find that has been really key for me. If I get to the point where it's really rough and I'm just not able to stay asleep or fall asleep, I will bring in my friend vetiver. And vetiver for me, I know some people it's too intense for rest, but I will actually add a drop of vetiver and put that on my chest. And then I actually like to put a little drop right here as well. And I find that really just kind of quiets my mind, and I go into a much deeper sleep. So when I need that backup, it's really great to have that extra oil there. So emotional support it's a huge topic. Everybody's got their favorite oils that make them feel better or make them feel calm. A lot of people go immediately to lavender. For me, lavender wasn't really the one that worked for me. I found that for me, the wood oils were the ones during treatment that really just kind of they grounded me and made me feel a little more stable and supported and calm. So I went through a phase with Forgive where I just started craving it. I started craving it. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay. And then, of course, when you learn what Forgive is about, it makes sense going through the treatment that I needed to let go of a lot of the emotions that I was carrying. And then my other backup, Balance, is wonderful. And I would put that on the bottom of my feet before I would go into the treatment room, just to kind of ground myself and get calm, because when you go in there, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes you're getting bad news, sometimes you're getting good news, sometimes somebody in there is in the same situation. So it's really wonderful to have those two. But I say, if peace works for you, whatever the blend is, whatever the oil is, there's really no wrong answer. But I definitely say try the wood oils, because those have been really, really wonderful for me. Now, digestive support, DigestZen, is a great product, and it works for me on a daily basis. The chemo that I had actually really kicked me in the butt, and I had to actually move on from DigestZen, and I sought out a acupuncturist. So that was my key to dealing with the nausea, diarrhea for myself. But I always say, get in there and try DigestZen first, because it works miracles for a lot of people in terms of dealing with nausea, diarrhea, and things like that. All right, so acupuncture, as my doctor said, Chinese medicine has been around longer than Western medicine. This is my oncologist. And so when I told him I was going to actually start seeing an acupuncturist, that was his response. So he said, just go do it. Use whatever tool you have in your toolbox. So I found that acupuncture was the thing that actually helped with my nausea and diarrhea issues, as well as the neuropathy issues in my hands. So if you're able to see an acupuncturist, I would say give it a try, because they are really great at actually addressing what is causing whatever the disconnect is going on with your nerves, within your organs and your body systems. It's really this whole body approach. So yeah, wherever you're at, I know some people don't have access to as many things as I do because I live in the Pacific Northwest. But if you can find somebody that you can go to or take whoever it is that you're supporting to, I say give it a try because it worked really, really well for me. Now, dietary changes, this was another key that I am sticking with forever. I know people, the first thing when I say, I stopped eating sugar, the response usually is, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Well, I am somebody who is a sugar fanatic, and I made the choice. I said, okay, I'm looking at a second time through with cancer here. It's getting really serious. I need to do whatever I can do to control, like this is what's the thing I can control. I can control what I eat, and I can make the choices to try not putting processed foods or sugar into my body. So what I did is I researched, and the two diets that I really came back to were the ketogenic diet. I mean, doing a healthier version of that, there's a lot of people that they like to eat bacon and cheese all day. That I don't think is the answer. But for me, it's incorporating real food and moderate amounts of meat and dairy, and choosing the best that you can. So if you can choose things that don't have any additives and that are organic, grass-fed, that was my choice. The vegan diet is amazing. I have one friend who is in immunotherapy who's been on a vegan diet and is doing amazingly well with it. The issue I had was at the time, I had so many issues with my digestion and obviously not being able to eat raw foods that there was no way I could go vegan or try it because I would have wasted away, and I would not have been able to really feed myself well. So I chose to go the ketogenic route, but I encourage whichever one speaks to you. I say, try one or the other for you. For me, I really got into protein shakes, and that was my lifesaver. And I use a brand called Nutiva, and you can order them online, order their protein shake online. It's a pea protein shake. It has very minimal sugars, very minimal carbs to it, which the ketogenic diet is cutting sugar, like no sugars and very minimal carbs. So then you're upping good fats and proteins instead. So the protein shake, even on days when I didn't want to eat real food, that was my saving grace. I would go in the kitchen and you could just mix it even with, like I would use an unsweetened coconut milk and just shake it up and drink it. And then you're getting that powerhouse nutrition. And you're also, if you're taking your Lifelong Vitality Pack, you're getting backup. So it's twice this nutritional impact, which was wonderful for me. And so at that point, I tell people, look at what works for you. What do you think you can stick with? Don't start a radical dietary change if you're thinking you're going to kill yourself trying to be on something really drastic, but you're not going to have the time or ability to do it, or it's going to impact you in a negative way because you don't need more stressors. So just do what you can with what you have. And now doctors will tell you, and I have been told this, that diet doesn't matter. Diet doesn't matter when you're in chemo. It doesn't matter if you cut sugar. It doesn't matter if you eat, whatever it is that's out there. The fact is, everything that I have learned, it matters. And that also includes how my body has responded from the first time through treatment versus the second time through treatment. So that's my opinion on it. And that's, like I said, the research that I have done, that's where it's led me to. All right, so let's get into talking about mindset. So mindset is a major factor in how you deal with anything having to do with cancer, anything to do with any kind of a trauma, getting bad news, whatever it is that's going on with you. We all have our stressors. We all have things that are going on that we wish we could change or make better. So this part, I'm definitely going to open up for everyone. So trying to find joy and gratitude under the most dire of circumstances. So when you have a doctor that you trust and they tell you, and this is what I was told a year and a half ago, I don't think I can cure this. You can go into a really dark hole and give up. And I chose to let myself go into the dark place for a very short period of time, because processing is a good thing. Processing all of these feelings are a good thing. Then I chose, I'm going to live the best life that I can for whatever time I have left. And then that's where I did the work to get to that place. And that's been key to where I'm at today. So looking for your people, we talk about the sum of 5 people. The 5 people you spend the most time with are a reflection of, who you are and where you're going. So when cancer comes in, and I've heard this from a lot of other patients, people fall away. A lot of people stop talking to you. They stop calling. They will say, I know it's well-meaning. They'll say, let me know what you need. But then other people, it's just too difficult and they don't want to be around it and it depresses them. And so it's really finding this balance of who are the people that they just don't know how to support you, but they want to, versus the people who it's just, maybe they weren't really your friend, or you went out and you hung out and you did stuff, but they aren't really there for you at this point. So for me, it's been finding my people, and I have this beautiful network of people who I feel supported at any time in terms of emotionally. If I need to process something, I know who to talk to. And then I also have different people for different needs. So it's easier for me to let go of stressors when we talk about this, prioritizing really what matters. Does it really matter if somebody didn't do something exactly the way you wanted them to in that moment? Is that worth getting upset about? Finding that perspective. If somebody cuts you off in traffic, is it really worth stewing about that for the rest of the day? And if you can let go of the stressors, or find ways to, if your job is killing you, I understand that it's not easy to just jump ship and get a different job. But if your job is killing you because of the stress, do whatever you can do to try to find a solution to get out of that space. And then gratitude really is power. So every morning when I get up, I think of, what am I grateful for? I have food. I have a roof over my head. I have people who are in my life that care about me. And even if I didn't have that, the fact that I'm alive, I woke up, I have food to eat, I have a roof over my head. Those things alone is so much more than what many people in the world have. So finding that place of gratitude, it's so important. It really is every day for all of us. So living fully in every moment. If you have an opportunity to tell someone you love them, if you have an opportunity to be kind to someone, if you're like, oh, I've always wanted to do that and I have an opportunity, but then inside you're like, well, I'll just wait. Why wait? If you have an opportunity to say yes to something, do it and say, okay, I'm not going to think of, I'm going to do that 50 years from now when I'm retired. If you have an opportunity to do something now, do it now, because you may not have that opportunity down the road. So emotional support oils, that is another key for me in terms of really keeping my mindset on task. So I know, and I've done a lot of reading and studying over the last year with people like Desiree Mangendog. I know when I'm feeling a certain way, how to use different oils to support myself. And that's something I think is really important, because I feel empowered to let go of whatever that is, or to take control of whatever that is. So I think that's another thing for all of us, that if we can find ways to feel in control and minimize the stress and minimize our upset in our daily lives, that's so huge. It really is. Okay, so then I come to this. Who and what lights you up? This ties into what I was just talking about. So finding your people, finding your purpose, finding that passion, and honestly, the perspective of, what if I'm not going to be here a month from now? What if, this is the thing, some people love to hear this and some people hate it. We're all dying. It's a part of life. So finding a way to let go of that fear, and finding a way to let go of the fear of, what is that person going to think of me? Or being angry about things that aren't necessarily vital to your daily existence. The guilt, shame, like we're a society, there's lots of guilt and shame. Like if you go on social media, you see people constantly shaming people, mocking people, getting out from under that as much as you can, and then going out and trying to be the opposite. So again, for me, like in these people in these pictures, this is my life. Like these are my people. I can be very serious and I can talk about death. I just recently held the hand of a friend of mine that was dying from breast cancer. And people said to me, how can you do that? Like that's gotta be so hard for you. And it came back for me. The fact was, it was an honor to have this person in my life and to be able to show up for her like that, like putting oils on her feet, holding her hand. Those things to me, that's some serious purpose in life. And so in these photos, you see some of the people who are part of that adventure with me and who see things that way. And we go out and we just try to be kind and loving and put light out into the world. So I encourage people, try to find that place in your life. Okay, so on that note, I am sharing blends with you guys. So this is a custom blend that I came up with when I really thought about someone who has just gotten diagnosed with cancer or anything that is really dark, and it's weighing on you and you're feeling that guilt because maybe you feel you could have done more to avoid something. You're feeling just fear, anger, any of those types of things. And all of that is incorporated in dealing with cancer. It is. And there will also be people who tell you that it's somehow your fault that you got cancer. There's a whole gamut of things that will come up emotionally. So this blend, it is meant to help kind of clear out that darkness and that anger and help you uncover those emotions and then let them go and then refill it in that space inside of you with light, with your frankincense and cedarwood, the oil of community and support, and then lime, the oil of gratitude. So we have some hardworking oils in here for clearing things out and uncovering things that maybe are just kind of stuck in us emotionally that we need to process. And then we have the oils that are going to come in and fill that space with light and gratitude. So this blend, I'm happy to share with you. And again, for a 5 ml roller bottle. And I would recommend as a protocol, if you're stuck in that space, I would use this oil every day for 2 weeks and then see how you feel. If you're somebody who just occasionally you're feeling this, you can use it definitely on an occasional basis. But as a protocol, I would use it for 2 weeks and then see how you feel. So then we also have a diffuser blend here. And then this is really meant to help you find a place of gratitude and really kind of get still in your mind, get connected, bring back some lighthearted joy, and then clary sage, that oil of seeing the bigger picture of what's going on and it really getting perspective. So this one, it smells amazing. And it's just a wonderful one to throw into your diffuser anytime that you're like, I just really kind of need a little more connection and getting back to that space of gratitude. Okay, let's talk about advocating for yourself. Now, this is a big one. So advocating for yourself as a patient, these are all things that are really important. So choosing your path of treatment, there's a lot of people that feel helpless. Like they have to do what the doctor says. They have to take the doctor the insurance company tells them. They have no control. Now, in many cases, this is true that we're at the mercy of insurers and what they will and won't approve. But if you have a doctor who is fighting with you, who is forcing you to do something that doesn't feel right, or is not explaining things to you, is not making you feel supported, you need to look for a different doctor. I have one friend who went through that, where she fought with her doctor, and she had advanced ovarian cancer. And I said, what are you doing? Like you're fighting with the person who's supposed to be helping you save your life. So she did eventually get out of that relationship, but it's something you've got to be able to have you've got to be able to trust and at least feel supported on your path before, especially before like choosing your treatment, because this is the person recommending what to do for you and it's serious. And then building your relationship with care providers. For me, when it comes to introducing integrative care, that's been key. You can see my doctor in the picture here. You know, in the beginning, it was a little oil and water until he realized that I needed humor. I needed to be real. Like I needed real talk. I was like, I'm not in denial. I don't want to be in denial. I'm also not going to go down the path of like super dark. If you tell me something, I'm going to completely crash. I was just like, I need to be informed because information is power, and I need to feel empowered to bring these other things in that I have researched, and we need to be able to have an agreement about that. So really, it's just bringing that personal power into your relationship with your doctor. It doesn't matter if it's an oncologist. It doesn't matter if it's a primary care doctor. You need to feel heard, and you need to feel supported. And unfortunately, there are a lot of statistics that show women tend to not get those things. We tend to be told we're hysterical. We tend to be told we don't know what is going on with our own bodies. So again, find that person that will actually listen to you and help you. And I'm like, whatever hoops you have to go through to make it happen, try to make it happen. So introducing integrative care, I went straight into my doctor and said, I'm doing things with oils. I'm doing these supplements. I'm seeing an acupuncturist. And he honestly said to me, use every tool in your toolbox. And he was very understanding. Now, the majority of oncologists will say, that's going to interfere with chemotherapy. I tell people I did a full 5 months of chemotherapy with full-blown cancer using all of the things that I have told you about during this presentation. And I actually came out with a clear scan last summer, which was not expected. So to me, that's the proof. If it were interfering with the chemo, I would not have gotten a clear scan. Now, in terms of dealing with Chinese medicine, there are herbs, again, that will interfere. And it's really important that if you're working with someone who works in Chinese medicine, that they know how to work with an oncology patient, because you don't want to be undoing what you're doing. And so that's another important part. So finding your voice, again, finding your voice in an overwhelming situation, it seems very daunting. But once you do, that empowerment is going to also help with everything else we've talked about. Emotionally, that is going to bring you to another level. And it's going to help you feel that you have some control over your fate. And that is so important whatever it is, to find that way to feel empowered. So expressing yourself, asking questions without shame. Like, there are no dumb questions, and your doctor should be willing to answer them. There's a lot of doctors who are surgeons who don't like to answer questions. And I hear that again from other people because they're just like, I don't have time for this. But whoever you're working with, they need to answer your questions, and they need to make you feel supported and that you know what's happening with yourself and what you're doing to yourself and what your options are. So now, advocating for others, this is another big role for people who they don't have cancer, but someone in their life has cancer. So this is what when people ask me, this is what I tell them. Allow that person to feel all of the feelings. They're valid. The anger, the guilt, the shame, the depression. You cannot expect someone to just suddenly just lose all of that. And they need to be allowed to process that because it is valid. And people, like I said, it will keep coming up where somebody online will shame you and say, well, you did this, so it caused your cancer. You have lung cancer because you smoked. I don't care if you smoked. Nobody deserves to have that happen to them. So understand that people are going to be feeling all the feelings, and listen. Listening, let's talk about that. On here I have listen to them, and then offer to do what people need, what they tell you, what they ask for. Ask them what they want. Like, what do they want? When it comes to food, people will immediately offer to make a food chart where everybody's going to bring food. That's a wonderful thing. But the wall that I hit was that I couldn't eat everything. And I didn't want people to make food and waste food. So I actually had to tell people, no, don't do that. And it's hard because that's one thing people feel comfortable doing. But you need to ask that person, what can I do for you? What can I make for you? And every day the eating habits may change. My wife would get so frustrated with me because she'd try to make a beautiful plate of food for me that I would have eaten, 2 weeks earlier, but I just couldn't eat. And she would get upset. And so we figured out this last time, she would come up with a couple of options based on what I could or couldn't eat. And she would say, do you want eggs and this, or do you want, and then it would give me that option to say, I'm really feeling like this. Thank you. I really want to eat eggs and asparagus. Thank you. Whatever it is. It's so important because then if you don't do that and then you're upset because somebody's not eating what you made for them, it's another thing where it puts guilt, and it's a heavy load for us to carry, or for the patient to carry. The last thing on here that I say is, don't tell them everything will be okay. We all want to say, everything will be okay. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. That person knows they may not be okay. Again, it's kind of invalidates your feelings or their feelings. So be supportive and listen, but try to not just tell them everything's going to be okay, because there's a lot that comes up for me even now. I mean, I'm going into a new clinical trial. There's the fear of the unknown. There's a lot of things. As emotionally prepared as I am, I go back to those places, and when someone just tells you everything's going to be okay, it kind of dismisses everything that you're going through emotionally. So I'm going to leave you with this. What have I learned on this journey? You're stronger than you think you are. You really are. We all are. I tell people all the time, I believe in you. You can do this thing you think you can't do. And because you are, we're all stronger than we think we are. Taking care of the whole body matters, whether you have cancer or not. We really need to be doing everything we can to support our entire body. You may not be able to control what's happening to you, but you can control how people respond to it. This has been a key for me once I figured that out, because honestly, if you're laying on a table getting ready to have a PET scan or a CT scan, an MRI, you're sitting there with a needle in your arm, you're going into surgery, you can have the best support system waiting for you when you come out, but you are the one that's on that table, and you have to find ways that you can cope, how you can control how you respond to that situation. Because a lot of times with cancer, you can't control, I don't want to go get stuck with needles. I don't want to go have this happen or that happen. I can't control that. It needs to happen. So I have to figure out and learn how to control how I respond to those situations. And that's been key. So it's helped me find a peace with everything that's going on. Lastly, do your best to live in gratitude, love, and kindness, because we never know when this will all end. I mean, honestly, again, whatever's going on with you, just put good out into the world. Be kind to one another. We desperately need more kindness and more understanding and more listening. And we don't know how long we're going to be here. So embrace the journey and just do what you can to make this a better world. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kelly. Such a powerful story, and I love hearing the roosters in the background. Will you go ahead and advance it to the next screen?
You got it.
So thank you all so much for joining us live. We love having an audience. We love it when you're there on the other side listening, and many of you are on Facebook with us. So we really appreciate you taking the time to tune in. It really means a lot to us. And I'm just going to quickly share with you, go to the next slide. For any of you that do not yet have a doTERRA wholesale account, this is definitely the very best way to get your essential oils, and we are here to support you with that. So please just connect with the person that invited you to this webinar, and they can help you get started. And or if you've come via Facebook and you don't have a direct connection, you can email us directly at info@essentialwellness.life, and we will help guide you. We also, if you're tuning in live, have some amazing enrollment promos, and we're also in the middle of BOGO week. And so it is actually the most perfect day to get started. So don't waste any time and reach out to the appropriate person today, because there are just some deals that you do not want to miss. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And otherwise, I'm not seeing any questions on our feed. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But if you think of some questions, this has been live streamed on our Essential Wellness Facebook page. You can also find it on my Aisha Harley business page if you're not part of our community. And if you type in a question there, then Kelly can certainly answer that. Now, do keep in mind we are not doctors, so we can't necessarily tell you what to do or what not to do, or it's always best to do your own research or talk with your own medical practitioners about that. But we do hope that Kelly gave you some really good, well-rounded information that you can then apply and deepen and take into your own life and find use in that. So Kelly, thank you so much again for sharing your time, in your beautiful heart, in your powerful story. I know this is going to touch so many people and be such a valuable resource for all of us. And I hope you all have a lovely day. We'll connect soon. Bye-bye.